September 11th, 2001. Certainly a day that I will never forget, and a day that hopefully none of us will ever forget in our history in the United States. That day, I was getting off shift. I was a captain assigned to the Annandale Fire Station in Fairfax County, and I got off shift that morning and headed home. Immediately upon getting home, I called my brother, who was also an officer in Fairfax County, and called him to wish a happy birthday. September 11th was his birthday, so when I got home, I made that call. He asked me if I was following what was occurring on the news, and I had not been. And immediately turned on the news, and the initial reports were there was an explosion at the Pentagon. That's what was airing. Initial reports was that it was some type of transformer explosion. Shortly thereafter, it was identified that a plane had struck the Pentagon. Simultaneously, the reports went back to what was occurring at World Trade Center 1 and World Trade Center 2 in New York City. Glued to the television for the next period of time, I was part of a WMD national response team called the National Medical Response Team. I was a task force leader assigned to Fairfax County, who was responsible for leading the efforts of men and women assigned to Fairfax as part of the National Medical Response Team. This multi-jurisdictional COG team was funded by the Health and Human Services to respond to weapons of mass destruction incidents and assist in decontamination, metering, and other medical assets that we provided. Our team was made up of doctors, nurses, hazard materials technicians, and all types of medical folks that could assist with these type of events. So shortly after hearing of the incident, we were deployed. Back then, we used something that we don't see much of anymore. We had pagers, and we were deployed to the Pentagon, or actually our base of operations was the Arlington Fire Department Training Center. So we deployed to the training center and responded to the Pentagon within hours after the plane struck the building. Initially, when we got there, the fire was still occurring. The Pentagon was still burning. Most of the critical patients had been transported at that point, but there were still some patients on scene. We began to set up our base of operations. Our initial efforts were to perform some metering of the surrounding areas to make sure it was safe for our folks to operate. USAR teams were deployed. Obviously, the operational assets were already deployed, but more were coming to combat the large fire that was occurring at the Pentagon. So with that, we began doing some initial metering of our hazmat, and then we also began setting up our decon assets to begin with deconning tools, equipment, patients that were brought out of the Pentagon. So that lasted for several days. I was deployed for 11 days total at the Pentagon. Initially 24 hours a day, but that transitioned to 12-hour shifts after that. It was quite an effort, lots of destruction that we all witnessed on TV, but certainly one of the things I remember that getting there, security was very lax in the days and the hours after the attack, but by day 11, certainly that security had been enhanced. We began going from not eating much at all to eating sandwiches brought by citizens and people that were feeding us, to transitioning to fully mobile restaurant site, logistics being brought in, and certainly it was a round-the-clock 24-hour day effort to not only put out the fire, but take care of all the other logistical needs that needed to happen at the Pentagon. My story doesn't end there. After going home after a period of 11 days, I deployed to Ground Zero, part of Fairfax County Fire and Rescue, and then Local 2068. Local 2068 was tasked with setting up FDNY's Family Assistance Team. As you can imagine, FDNY was decimated with what was going on at Ground Zero. Fairfax County had extensive experience in behavioral health and setting up these response teams, and team members began to deploy to Ground Zero to assist in those efforts. I spent a week at Ground Zero assisting with logistical support for the family support team, assisting picking up family, clergy from the airport, delivering to Ground Zero, doing whatever it took to assist FDNY with any logistics of setting up their peer support teams and their peer support efforts up there in New York City. So again, spent a week up there and then came home and transitioned back to normal duty at Fire and Rescue. Certainly, I look back at my time and my small amount of efforts that I had in supporting not only the Pentagon attack, but Ground Zero. It was quite a mission. Very grateful the time that I had to supply my efforts in making something get better, something so devastating that hopefully we never see again. But I look at my time, being grateful for the time that I got to serve in those roles and being able to assist in a small way to the efforts of 9/11. I hope it's a testament to all of us, and this is what we prepare for. Another 9/11 can happen anytime. This is why we train. This is why we have government-funded teams, USAR teams, health and human service teams. This is why we train each and every day in our roles. And I hope that all of you will never need to utilize it in this capacity again. But if it happens, we're all ready to do our jobs, and we're all being sent in to assist the bigger picture. So thank you for letting me tell my story. It's an honor to have served in all those capacities, and it's still an honor to serve here in Loudoun County. So thank you.